All right, everybody, how y'all doing today? This is Empty Turtle. I'm here with Dr. David Jubb, and this is Jub Talk. And today, the conversation we have is salt. And Dr. Jubb, say hello to everybody.
Oh, just was wondering when the last time you might have had a margarita.
It's been way too long.
No, but have you seen people having margaritas?
Yes, absolutely.
And what's the trick of it?
Salt around the rim.
Yeah, and then what do? They turn the glass upside down in the salt.
In the salt, that's right.
It's a little wet, and then they just and now you've got salt on the rim, right?
Yeah.
Salt. There's something about that in the desert. What have you heard about? You need salt.
Oh well, salt. I think it's more important than people actually realize or think it is, because without it, you die a lot faster than not eating, not sleeping, right?
Yeah, so in the desert, yuppies have gone out, which was in the news. It's a good warning, isn't it? Because, they went out and some died in, some perished actually.
They drive out there, they run out of gas, so the car breaks down, and they die.
Could it take for some people? They could have died. I mean, a normal person could even, in a quick time, have...
About an hour? 2 hours?
Yes, you could, because there could be a condition that you have that you could be a bit dehydrated already, right? Have you ever heard that most people kind of a bit dehydrated?
Constantly.
Yeah, okay.
Because at work, maybe if you're guzzling coffee, but if you're not drinking, I don't even know how much water it is you have to drink.
So it's an interesting thing that a lot of races, you can see under their armpit in their shirt, there is no salt.
They're not sweating?
Well, no, they do sweat, but they just don't have any salt that goes into their clothing.
Yeah.
And then have you ever noticed someone that's just afterward, it's just white salt under the armpit in the clothing?
Yeah.
Yes. That could be a test for, cystic fibrosis, because it's sort of really a salt challenge, a chloride and bicarbonate channel. But do you have a feeling that could there be a reason why somebody might survive that circumstance longer, let's say, but they could perish too, because it's just not a survivable circumstance without proper conditioning. You can't keep in a heat, for instance, for so long, and your enzyme systems could continue to function, basically. You really breaks everything down incredibly. 2, 3, 4 days of non-stop heat, yes, can break a body down quite radically, matter of fact.
Big time.
Yes. What about, have you ever heard people just drinking and it kind of really doesn't satisfy their thirst?
Yes, I've had that problem. But it always comes down to water.
Yeah.
Water is the one true thirst quencher, I believe.
So if you put salt on a blood stain, or you're cleaning it, you put salt on it, or wine or something on the carpet or whatever, and salt goes on it, what's the reason why that's so?
I have no idea why. Well, what's the reaction? What happens when you put salt on it? I don't know.
Oh, well, with water, what does water do?
Cleans.
Yeah, but water, yeah, that's right, it does actually. Hydrogen absolutely is the most amazing solvent, like you point out, but where you have salt, like a pile of salt, and water is kind of next to it, what's going to happen?
You're going to create electricity in the water, right?
Well,
a jolt.
Is the salt what's going to happen with the water and the salt? The water's going to
Mix with it?
come into the salt. Comes into the salt. That's right.
Okay.
And now, when you've got salt there and you've got water, can you get rid of the water?
Yes.
Yeah, but you could. But like, generally, would you be able to, if there was a force there, that which is in the salt, holding it always?
Yeah. No.
And so it's kind of holding water. Yeah.
Because, well, I mean, you can get rid of the water, right? Let the sun dry the water away, and then you just have the salt left.
Well, yeah, if, like in some areas of our body, it's more expandable, less areas, like bone and things like that, isn't so expandable, let's say. But where water could diffuse, if salt wasn't in the right place, would it attract water in there?
Sure.
Yeah, that's actually what happens. It's good, no, because these are things you're just thinking about. Okay, so but like, let's see now. Here's what I want to ask you, if it's okay. I mean, is it okay to lick rocks? I mean, to get minerals.
If you were a caveman back in the day, sure. Now, no.
Yeah, but like, I mean, okay. But what about grinding rocks up, make it a fine powder,
We do it all
shake
the
it
time.
up with a bit of orange juice and give that to babies?
Oh, man, all the time.
Would that be okay with you?
You know, it doesn't sound okay, but that's what happens, right?
Yeah, but like, well, it should be part of a business that's grinding rocks up in the quarry to a fine powder. And just, that's going to be fed to babies.
There are some really smart people out there.
Yeah, okay. But I think in actual interest, because if you have a culture, they really are strict about the different type of salt they consume. Have you heard that at all?
I had no idea. I thought salt was salt. There's different types of salt?
Yeah, exactly. Because, like, for instance, if you're in Korea, whether it's North Korea or even South Korea, it's just sacrilegious to have not to have ocean salt.
Wild. I had no idea.
Yeah. Now, what about in Mexico? Down there, they pack bags of salt and things as such like that, but it goes everywhere. And what's the reason why it's preferred? Ocean salt is preferred.
Is it easier on the body to consume than regular salt?
Well, something has got to be there because, like you said, it doesn't seem right to get nutrition from licking rocks.
No. And you can actually die from licking rocks, can't you?
Well, yeah, of course you could.
Okay.
Because you've got heavy metals.
Ooh.
So if heavy metals just washed into something and you were just, consuming it, let's say, and it was rock salt. Let's give you one more example, because rock salt kind of like is not salt we think of as anything that's dissolvable in the water, yes? Like, let's say, calcium carbonate, like wallboard plaster.
Okay. Hey, what?
Oh, well, I was just wondering about wallboard plaster.
Wallboard plaster.
Yeah, wallboard plaster.
Wallboard plaster.
Yeah, plaster that's sort of put into the wallboard of your home. You mix it up in a drum.
Never heard of this stuff.
Okay.
I've heard of plaster.
Yeah, okay, well, plaster. Okay, that's calcium carbonate. That's very good.
Okay. Okay.
Would it be all right to actually just make drinks out of it?
I don't think so.
Well, why wouldn't you put wallboard plaster into drinks?
Doesn't sound like it'd be tasty.
Yeah, because you can mine it from the mountains and you just then put into drinks.
Why would you?
Yeah, you see, there's something going on here, isn't it? Because personally, I think it should be known that we only have a relation to a mineral as it's in an elemental state. And the difference between a mineral in its mineral mind state and its elemental state, right, is that it's passed through life. The mineral has actually passed through life.
Wow. How old are minerals?
Well, colloid of life are indestructible. basically, you see. And rock will all break down to a colloid of life, and that's just what creates the rain and everything, and all of life. The colloid of life that were in dinosaurs are inside you and I at the moment.
Wow.
And you and I have life vicariously because of them.
That is amazing.
But only just coming back to salt, kind of like this, like what we talk about. If it's straight with nature, so basically what you told me, just intuitively, fairly well educated, reasonably, well, that's so modest of you. That is extremely modest.
Compared to our listeners?
It's you're disarming everybody.
I tell you what, no, our listeners are way smarter than me. I can guarantee you.
Okay, well, these are your distinguished audience, and I'm doing what I can to make sure that you're connecting with them. Okay, so let's see. Let's see. So far, like kind of, you could just say that kind of orthophilic means straight with nature. So something has to be orthophilic. It just has to be straight with nature.
Okay.
If sugar in nature, it always refracts light to the right. Yeah?
Okay.
You don't ever find a sugar that refracts it to the left.
Unless it's
you put genetically modified organisms to break something down and break the pulp of that down into sugar and then turn that into sugar. But then you've got a sort of a left bent sugar. What happens when your tummy drinks a lot of that?
Oh, you just kind of start feeling nauseated or whatever. You don't feel good.
You feel okay, pretty much.
You're not
because our brain kind of is not set up to feel too much unless there's some contrast, yeah?
Okay.
And it's nice, it tastes good, you drank it, off you went. And pretty much might there not be too much of an effect except for it breaks down into a fatty acid. And it raises fatty acid. Yes? Mm-hmm. And so that could be not so good. All right, but basically...
Doesn't sound good.
Yeah, but it's really a sugar that's kind of bent wrong, maybe you could eat a little bit of it, maybe. It'd be okay. But you wouldn't be able to live off that, would you? You see, what if it...
No, you couldn't.
No, okay. So if you're in the desert and you absolutely needed something
to drink,
and salt was present a bit, and you could notice that it all of a sudden kind of restores energy, though it's a bit toxic, it's going to restore energy, isn't it? Imagine just for a moment, I'm going to ask you, you've got two beakers on the experimental bench,
okay.
And you can see those beakers right now, and you've got water in the beaker, and you've got a multimeter, and it's going to just measure the current and ohms and this sort of thing, if you could get something out of the water. So you popped your two probes into the water, and one beaker, you're just looking at your multimeter and you just see like nothing's going on.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right. And now it's the same water, but the other beaker, but you just put a bit of ocean wind evaporated salt in it. Small amount.
Just a pinch, not even.
And the light comes on.
That's amazing.
Yes, because conductivity has existed now in the water, yeah? And it wasn't before. Quite a lot of things, in fact, have occurred. But okay, so orthophilic just means, something is ecological, right?
I don't think we are orthophilic.
Oh, that's right, because actually thinking and cognition could be selective restrictive violations, which always cause spike wave. It causes like a brain freeze. It causes a 4 hertz cycle to pass through the brain twice.
I do that a lot.
And it shuts whatever you were. It shuts it sort of down when that happens. Did you know that that's what happens to people who go to public speaking and they know they're not good at public speaking? The reason why they're not good, because actually they could lose their train of thought, and they know that, and so this is sort of a challenge for them.
And you know what? That's why teleprompters have never been so important, right? But teleprompters, you gotta have them.
Well, you don't.
I don't.
Well, why not?
Because I can think on my feet, you know?
Yes,
I
okay.
can move around.
But do you enjoy people thinking on their feet or reading from a teleprompter?
Oh, come on your feet. That's where you get the reality of things.
Yeah,
Teleprompter, that is. Teleprompter's written for 9 times out of 10. You don't write it yourself.
Do you like it when somebody's kind of they're having a conversation versus they're just bloody reading from a script?
Yeah.
Can you tell if somebody's actually real versus reading from a script?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Most of the time.
You know, you can.
Not all the time. Not 100%.
No, I think most people can. They really can. It's like this. Now, reading from a script is what to you? It's
not real.
It's disastrous.
It can be.
Yeah. No. Well,
you know who the best at spotting a liar? The best I've ever seen. Give a shout out to Judge Judy. That lady can spot a liar like that. She's amazing.
Do you think judges are the best
Absolutely
at that?
Not. No.
Oh, well, it's a strange thing that you considered her. What about Confucius? What about Confucius, though? Have you read Confucius?
I've heard a lot about Confucius, and I'm sure I've done.
What about Lao Tzu?
I don't know. Maybe.
Oh, my God. Okay. Well, about
I've heard of them.
Any of the Persian scholars?
None of them.
But
all the scholars.
Have you heard about Shakespeare?
I've heard of Shakespeare.
Yeah, but he didn't exist, of course, you know, because that was Queen Elizabeth's illegitimate sons, because she wasn't allowed to.
Are you serious?
Well, when somebody was a queen and she was enjoying, you know, fornication a bit and things as young people do,
Queens,
but you wouldn't have been allowed to do that.
Enjoy just as much as kings.
Yeah, but like in the Queen Victorian era, were you allowed to show the legs of a table?
No. Are you kidding?
Of course not. But you were able to show your own legs, you see.
I could do whatever I want.
Yeah, but the legs of a table, no. And could she show her ankle?
Of course not.
Absolutely not. Why? Because it would
lead to the knee. Would
be turn people on if they saw men on because they saw the woman's ankle.
That's right. And men have great imagination.
So is that an example of a sexual releaser behaviour?
Behavior.
Yeah, I mean a sexual releaser behaviour because you don't have any sexual releaser behaviours.
No.
I mean you're not thinking I'm going to show my ankle and that's gonna make things work.
Right?
No, I don't think that. No, I'm going to ask you though. How would you think if I put you in a beauty pageant? That's what I want to know.
Well, one I'd lose. All right, so it's a waste of time.
Yeah, but just most men would not even give a crap about it. Like you're just answering.
It wouldn't matter. But I tell you what, it really depends on where and when.
Okay.
Because they may favor something.
If I gave you an image, though, but that the image had long legs and a short trunk, it's like a man's body, but you're a woman. Will you feel okay about that?
I don't know.
No.
I don't know. I've never been a woman.
Well, you know, look, if you get a doll, and it's your ideal, Barbie, right?
Yeah.
It's got long legs like a man.
Yes.
Its trunk is short.
Yep.
Right? But women don't have long legs. They have a long trunk and short legs.
Wow, because I've seen a lot of women with long legs. Shout out to Cameron Brink.
Well, it's an interesting thing that many women actually were men and have become women, especially in the media. But that's just another story.
Oh,
but look,
and
the models and things like that. But let's see. No, look, I'm a forensic expert, and I can tell a skull if it's a woman or a man's skull. Trust me.
Wow. Well, that's good.
No, because like a skull, a man's skull like yours is at least, I'm not sure, it's nearly as wide as your shoulders. You've got the biggest head I know. But most people, they don't have a big head like you do. But women, have you ever seen a woman with a big head like you?
I have strong neck muscles.
See, your head, your shoulders are like, let's see.
Incredible Hulk.
Your head is 1/3 the size of your shoulders.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that normal or not?
It's just a man. It's like, I'm sorry, it's a man's body.
Oh, thank God I have manly features.
Well, no, you'd have to do things which I can show you what to do to make yourself look more like a woman. But you'd have to put a lot more hair on your head or something and fluff it out.
I would definitely need
so that your head was even bigger.
And then go to glamour shots.
Your shoulders.
Go to glamour shots.
Okay, look,
nice.
no. There's differences between men and women. See,
I actually believe that.
Yeah, well, when I saw a skeleton, you could easily tell if it was a woman or a man because of various features. But one would be definite, and that's the length of the trunk. The trunk, in relation to the legs.
Okay.
So women have short legs and a longer trunk, but like, how's it going to be if you're looking at Barbie and this is just like messed up? It's not that way. You see?
Well, maybe they should come up with a doll that looks more realistic.
Yes, but if it's okay just to put a pot over his pee-pee, he's completely naked, that's not sexual.
No.
But you can't show the legs of a table.
That's insane.
No, this is what's going on.
Okay.
If it's all right to show a sexually mutilated male statue, you see them all over the place, right? Sexually mutilated statues of males.
Okay.
And you could be eating your dinner in an Italian restaurant and just be looking at David, right?
Yeah.
You could look at his pee-pee.
Yeah, but it's not mutated, is it?
No, well, just for a moment, let's just stick with the idea that
I'm at
you're looking at a pee-pee.
And I'm looking at David's pee-pee.
Yes. What about Mary's pee-pee? Have you seen hers in the restaurant?
Never.
Why not?
Because
it's sexual, you see. So pee-pees are not sexual, kind of, or they are, but they're not. You know
pee-pees aren't sexual?
Well, no.
Well, somebody needs to tell my pee-pee that.
Well, most men are going to tell you probably that your pee-pee isn't sexual to them. Sorry. No, but it could be, you could feel that way to other people. But when they did sex in America, that was a big study. What were people thinking about? That's the question. What were women thinking about in their mind? Yeah, I'm talking about heterosexual women.
Yeah.
But actually, lesbians.
What are they thinking?
Yes.
Maybe they're thinking about the possibilities.
No, they're looking more at their pee-pee. They're looking back at their own pee-pees.
Really?
And they're like, look, it's sort of like turning them on.
They don't have a pee-pee.
Well, it's turning them on because they're thinking that someone's looking at them.
I think it's a PU is what.
Yeah, well, just call it pee-pee for a moment because he has one, she has one, and if you're Catholic, you could still, or Muslim as you are, pee-pee.
I just want people to know that when we say pee-pee for women, it's actually something else. We're just trying to be simple about it.
Oh, pee-pees are just a pee-pee.
Okay.
It's a way,
But not a penis. A woman doesn't have a penis.
Well, it wouldn't be right to call it clitoralized because it's penalized. As you said, that's correct. Yeah, that's true, of course. There's a lot of sexism, as you're pointing out. But we'll just leave this alone for a moment.
All right.
Because you've got salt, and at the moment, orthophilic means we just kind of like something is ecological and something is not. Coming to water, is water just basically the same? So you just stick it into the body through like a whole
because you
piece of
cannot
fencing
drink
wire.
Salt water. You got to have regular water.
Okay, yeah, but when you and then it comes into your stomach. If you shoot it in through a hollow piece of fencing wire, is that okay?
I don't know if it would even matter.
Yeah, it does.
Why?
You see, because it's not structured. It's supposed to be Y-shaped water. The only type of water that you have in your body is Y-shaped water. You see, it's an actual shape. It's got three hydrogen molecules and 2 oxygen molecules. So we'll just chill just for a second because like the vast majority of people kind of listening, they might not even know there's 3 types of water, but just we can get to that at some other point. But all I just said was that when you take water from the tap or whatever out of a plastic bag and you put that in a hollow piece of fencing wire and you stick that into the body, right? Do you have a feeling that you might have like messed up when you did it?
Sure, absolutely.
Yes, because
how's it going to hold water? It's not
well, first of all, like what if you didn't aspirate the needle? You didn't aspirate that piece of fencing wire that was hollowed out.
Okay.
You're going to stick it right in there.
Yeah.
But it's going to break cells, isn't it?
Yes.
And is it going to go into a vein?
Sure, why not?
It could. Or what about an artery?
Ooh, even worse.
Or what if it just busts through stuff like that because somebody gave you a needle or whatever?
Okay.
And little blood clots are caused, aren't they?
Yeah.
But if you didn't aspirate the needle, what's aspirating mean?
You're talking to the wrong person.
It means you've got to get rid of the air.
Okay.
What happens if you don't?
Well, the air itself could fuck you up, right?
Well, it's okay.
Mess you up.
It might be okay because many people can survive that, but it's sort of really dangerous because it can cause embolism.
Oh, yeah, that's no good.
Yeah. Have you ever seen how animals often actually die from having been injected in a limb? Have you ever heard that?
No, I've never seen it.
Well, that's the reason why.
That's how they
That's the reason why vets and people looking after animals aren't going to do it in the limb.
Okay.
Because it's going to cause a neoplastic condition in the limb.
Okay.
How long does it take a neoplastic condition to form?
I would say quickly.
48 hours.
Okay.
And then after that, what? Which your pancreas could function and suddenly it just dissolves it, okay.
Wow.
But if your pancreas wasn't functioning, would you be able to get rid of those? Not really, because there's enzymes the pancreas making to get rid of those things, you see. So a cell, like a red blood corpuscle isn't a cell because it doesn't have any DNA in it, right? So, but it parks itself along an endothelial cell which sort of needs help, and it trembles and buds, and the double spore from itself migrate into the very things which is needed at the site. And these are the things that occur. So you've got it parks itself alongside a piece of toast or a bit of spaghetti or something, or a bit of duck pate. A lot of that stuff you can find under the armpit of someone eating dead food.
What?
And so the red blood corpuscle parks itself because it's sort of like got stuck in the lymph, right? Because it got deposited there because it went through the capillary and it went through sort of a glyaxal type of region, which was a thickened mucus, a gel phase of water, which about a litre of that doesn't flow in your body, and that's sort of like an actual gel phase, which fits to the capillary, and as something is sort of diffusing through, rock salt could be there, which is going to be wrong because that's going to hold water in the tissue, isn't it, and cause edema. And so all drip feeding and this sort of thing should be out, especially when you can bring water in through your mouth. Plus, you should have orthophilic salt because it can be life colloid transmutated from one element into another, whereas a rock cannot be because it's got enzyme-resistant conditioning in it.
Orthophilic?
Orthophilics means that...
No, the orthophilic salt.
It.
So that's the kind of salt we want to be eating, digesting, right? Orthophilic.
Well, yes, exactly.
Okay,
because salt from something living, like we started out to say, modified the mineral, and it's no longer the same. It's ovoid in its shape, and it's triovoid more in its shape. Interesting. It's been shaped like that. It's interesting. It very is. Also it's modified so that it's actually in a monatomic state, meaning it's really, it's organised itself to have a valence which is neutral, meaning non-polar, because it has to diffuse right through the membrane of your body, and if it doesn't, it's going to be in trouble, you see? It's not going to go anywhere, it's going to get stuck somewhere, which rock salt does, and so does calcium carbonate, you know. If mother's milk is like 5 parts of calcium and only 2 parts phosphate, and blood, if you minus the nucleus and things of material stuff in it and things, is around about the same, 5 parts of calcium up to 2 parts of phosphate.
Okay.
And then if you look at live food and things we just evolved to have, like the massa, they always were only vegetarian. They lived the longest. And so, has there ever been any genius that wasn't a vegetarian? Was there ever a genius that wasn't a vegetarian?
Of course.
No. Okay.
Really?
Was there any famous person in history like Helena Troy or Joan of Arc, or let's say, I'm just thinking some famous people, but like Cleopatra, or let's say
Mary?
You've got, Madame Curie. You've got many famous women, of course, geniuses. What I'm talking about. Not a single one of them were
carnivores.
A flesh eater. No.
Wow, they were all vegetarian.
No, a carnival was not called that until you start roasting a pig on it.
All right.
And that was Khan. You had a Val of Khan. Yeah, you had a Valley of Khan and a value to Khan, and it meant carnival. And you had a carnival, yes, to Khan. But if I eat myself, me eat. That's what that's called. Me eat. It's like rabbits.
We're eating ourselves.
Well, the rabbit sort of jumps out of the burrow and it goes, woof, woof, don't eat me.
Right.
Right?
Because they're so cute.
And then they get eeten.
Yes.
It's a rabbit who's got out of the burrow and goes, eagle, don't eat me.
Let me ask you this. The cuter the animal, the better it tastes?
Of course, we could say that if you're an ant, you could be exposed of.
Okay. Yes.
You're below.
Yes.
You're
ants,
certainly.
Whatever ants.
Yeah, well, if you're a combat ant, you're below, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
A worker ant.
Well, you're a combat ant.
That's right.
Yeah. You're just an ant.
Yeah. Ants.
Well, an ant is an insect. An insect.
Yeah.
Like a cockroach. Weren't people called cockroaches? Isn't that the same as a combat ant?
Yeah, I think they're similar.
Okay, but what if I just said, if you come into this guild, we're going to call you a deaf-ended ant?
Okay.
Would that be okay to you?
When I was younger, maybe not.
No,
now
because
I don't care.
No, okay. Just because it's unacceptable in the court to be called a deaf-ended ant.
Okay.
But would you be called? Well, how about a plain tiff then?
Okay.
That's just a whingy, whining howdy in French, because most people in English, they don't know French. So you could call someone a whingy, whining hag and call them a plain tiff.
Okay.
The other person you could call a deaf-ended ant.
So in court, you could say, "Sir, Your Honor, this witchy wanted hag. What's it called?"
No, you can't say that. You're not allowed to speak in those courts. You have to be represented.
Oh, yeah.
Represented. Yes, you do. That's code.
I would have
That's
to.
French. It's kind of like
You wouldn't need to be.
legalese, like Vietnamese or Chinese. Do you have to know Vietnamese to talk to us?
No.
Okay. Well, do you just demand that we speak in common
Damn
sense?
right I do.
Yeah. Well, then you should probably in the court too, because this is your court, isn't it?
Here's the deal. Okay. Are you saying that the words in the court system, they mean something very specific, right?
I'm just saying that when you see yourself in an ant, you've given your whole self to the ant. Now you don't have any prejudice. But if you only see an ant as something which is like a cockroach, which most people think, not much life exists in it, it's sort of like maybe a piece of machinery or something, and so they don't give that life. But it's a shame they don't. It's truly, because what's the most important substance in our atmospheric gas?
Gas?
Yeah.
Oh, geez, I would say oxygen.
No, it's fumaric. It's fumaric acid.
Really? I've never even
Yes.
heard of it. What is
Did you know that you cannot have cancer and you're going to help heal yourself up, that you have some fumaric acid in the atmosphere?
What?
Well, did you know that the only atmosphere we have because it was breathed by life?
Okay, now we're getting really deep here.
Well, how much atmosphere do we have? Like, if we're ripping through space, which we're really going at fast, we're just travelling behind the sun at 42,000 miles per hour, right?
I guess.
Yeah, well,
That's around
but
there.
we're ripping through space. And what's the supply of oxygen that we have at the moment?
I have no idea.
Why not, though? Shouldn't you know?
No, that's too complicated.
Okay. Well, we have 4 weeks of oxygen anyway.
Really? So if Earth quit making oxygen, we'd only have 4 weeks to live.
Oh, you haven't heard of a species extinction because you're a Darwinist.
I thought it was through a meteor.
Yeah, but you already thought that. Why don't you know about meteorites?
I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, well, they didn't know. They're just learning about them now. What about asteroids? You ever,
Same thing, right?
yeah.
Aren't asteroids bigger?
Well, what's the difference between a meteorite and an asteroid?
You tell me.
Well, a meteorite's got a lot of nickel in it. It's pretty solid.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
It's probably got lots of chunks of other stuff around it too, because
Okay.
it's not just one piece. Like, oh yeah,
Okay.
right. You think it's just one piece? No, it's not.
Okay.
Okay. Now,
What about asteroid?
a meta that's a comet, okay, it's getting relief. It's like a semicolon, all right? It's got a big tail.
Okay.
Yeah, it's called relief or a pause. It's not a full stop, you see.
So the comet is an asteroid.
Well, a comet is something that's trailing a lot of water and ice, and it's just
Okay.
a lot of trail behind it,
Got it.
massive, like full of rocks and all sorts of debris and stuff, you know.
Okay, let me ask you.
And we smacked into one.
Haley's
like
comet, how long was that trail? And how much water would that provide the Earth?
Halley's Comet could be just actually a part of Venus's trail that it left when it got knocked off when it came close to Mars. And so it no longer had its condition of a movement like ripping through space like it was. But pieces of things which could have continued on, of course. Could we say that maybe is sort of Halley's Comet because it comes back every
6 years.
6 years?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
believe it's 76.
Yes, and then we only just found out about that because some bloke kind of in our recent time, domesticated, realised that they come back. And so now we saw there was an elliptical orbit.
That's amazing. Who figures stuff like that out?
The
I
NASA
swear.
did in 3000 BC or more, but much older, 10,000 BC.
That's amazing. And think about this, right? You're some bloke, and you're looking at the sky, and you had an uncle that was a observer of the sky and actually wrote some of this shit down. And he talked about a comet coming around twice. So he's like, whoa, let's see if it comes out again.
Yeah, that's right. That's actually how it happened with the Aboriginals, as you point out.
Really?
Everywhere. And so, could everyone, when something happened, give you the same account in isolated places? Would you just want to look to see where in
If it was a
isolated
big enough
places people give you the same account?
That's wild.
Yeah, because
it was a big enough event to have multiple.
It was interesting to me as a young boy to go and listen to all the folk stories of the Aboriginals in Tasmania, especially
Really?
because it was said they were the most isolated people in the New World. But in fact, actually, they really had buildings there and things like in Port Arthur and stuff, just like all the other cities did too. They weren't just found and nothing was there. That's a bit lying. But we're talking about salt, and we're coming back to it. Some cultures just only have orthophilic salt, and orthophilic means it's got permittivity. It means it can hold and disperse a charge. It also has amphoterics, which means it could be neutral or it could be south positive or north negative. It could decide what it wants, where it can be, and that's called amphoterics, and it's organised. And the other one is that has to be amphiphilic, meaning it could be going to resin or oil or water, and so it could be miscible in there. So this art is lost today. Most people don't know how to mix resin into water or water into oil or resin into oil or water, you see. So it's like these things aren't kind of miscible somewhat in the chemistry that people do in labs because it is dead.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, that's what we got going on today. I hope you had a great time. I know I did. And Dr. David Jubb, could you please leave us, the listeners, with something? Give us something to think about.
Life begets life and dead begets dead. IQ is putting things in the right bucket.
Awesome. Love it. Take us out.